Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to install under cabinet lighting using this cool wireless switch. Okay, getting straight into it. The tools we're using today are wire cutters, a hacksaw, terminal screwdriver, drill, a 2mm and a 5mm drill bit, and my tool of the day, my Klein crimpers. Now, there's a few reasons why I prefer to use this type of light as opposed to the fixed stripped LED lights that you can get. It's because this spreads the light evenly across the entire workspace below. It also easy to work with, and when fitted inside the profile, it looks really discreet and really nice and tidy. Here's a few examples of where I've recently used them on other projects. So I've chosen to use the Kinetic Switch. The reason being is because I know how reliable these things are. I've used them many times operating lots of different things, including lights, low-level sockets, the list goes on, to be honest. So I've used them many times, been using them for years. They're really simple to wire up. The switch has no battery. It literally uses kinetic energy to switch the receiver. The receiver is a simple in and out wiring, which I will show you how to do. But yeah, I can't praise it enough. And it makes installations like this really nice and easy because you can put the switch virtually anywhere and have it operating the light, which is fantastic. I'd like to say a big thank you to the LED store for supplying the lighting materials. They came next day, no complaints, and they come as a package, so you can actually go on their website, look at what different packages they've got. For example, we wanted them for the kitchen, so we picked the kitchen kit. It comes with all the right drivers, so you haven't got to mince about trying to find which driver suits which LED tape or which profile. It just comes in a complete kit, making it a lot easier to purchase, knowing you've got the right stuff. Now, these kinetic switches, they do need a receiver to tell the light to come on, and they do require a power supply. They are wired the same way as you would wire an LED driver. But before that, let me show you simply how the whole installation works before we go ahead and install it under the counter. Okay, so first things first, we need power. For this example, I've simply fitted a plug to a 3-core 0.75 flexible cable. Make sure to note, as we're controlling lighting, the fuse in the plug is 3 amps, not 13. So if you choose to use a plug method for providing power, you must use a 3 amp fuse. Okay, so the process goes in this order. You've got a power supply, which we're going to be using a 3 amp plug. So it's basically just a plug with a 3 amp fuse in it. From there, we're going to have a 3-core 0.75 flex, which comes out, which is going to power the receiver. From the receiver, we're then going to power the driver once we switch it on with the kinetic switch. And then from there, in this scenario, I'm using a 4-channel LED controller. This is because I've got the color changing LED strip here. If you go for the normal LED strip, you won't need this controller. You'll literally come out of the driver and then straight into the LED strip. Okay, so we now have power. We need to connect it to the kinetic receiver. We are connecting this to the supply terminals as we're supplying the receiver with power. From here, we need to wire to the LED driver. I use a 0.75 flex for this as I find it easier to work with, but you can use twin and earth cable instead if you choose. So from the load side of the receiver, wire to the supply side of the LED driver. This is just a quick example of how to wire the kinetic receiver. With the supply cable, so the power coming from the plug, make sure that this flex is actually terminated and the outer sheath of the cable, the white, is inside the actual cover, so there's no single insulation exposed. As this is a quick example, I've just put in the out cable to quickly get this in to give you a quick example. But when we put this in properly, we'll make sure that all of the outer sheath is terminated and inside the actual enclosure itself. With the earth cables, there is no earth on this device. So what we need to do is to connect the earth cables to the to the outside of this connector, outside of this receiver. Now, as I said, I've chosen to use a RGB tape. So I've got all the different colours that's coming out of this. If you have chosen just to have a single colour, you'll only have 2 cables coming out of here. This one looks a little bit more complicated, but essentially what I've had to do is to match up the colours of the wires to the description that's written above the terminals. Okay, when powering on your receiver for the first time, there'll be a little light that starts flashing on this display here. When that's flashing, you hold this down and then you press the switch to sync. Okay, so there's a couple of options here depending on how you want to power the receiver. For this example, we've used the plug just to energize the receiver, and you can quite happily plug it into a socket and then run your strip along the bottom of your cabinets and have it switching from your Kinetic receiver. If you're happy with that, then that's great. If you've got the option, or you're working on something that's already got power to the top of the cabinets, then that's what we're going to be working on now, to basically take away the plug, save having to have a cable coming up the side of the cabinet, and being able to power the receiver directly from the top of the cabinet, so there'll be literally 0 cables on show. So working on the example that I've got power already up at the top of the cabinets, which I'm going to be taking the power from to energize the receiver. So basically it's exactly, if you imagine this as a plug with the flex coming out that we did in the example, that's basically what we have here, except we already got the power on the top. So we're going to be coming straight out of that into the receiver, and the same as we did underneath earlier. Okay, so all lined up nicely. I've kept the power coming out of the driver to go into my controller, so I haven't got to worry about that just now. So I'm going to pop that down there, and then we're going to wire this into the receiver. A little bit tricky working above the cabinets, but we've had worse. So if we're looking at the cover, which slips on here, the in is on the left hand side. So I know that my live is going on the furthest screw to the left. So that's what I'm going to wire in now. Okay, so he's in. As you can see, the outer sheath is inside of this cover once this goes on, and the earth cable is connected. So we're going to be putting a little bit of earth sleeving on that, and then connecting that up to the earth on this cable. So for now, we're going to wire the other side of the receiver, so we can see that it is the out, and the live goes on the furthest to the left here. All right, so we've come out of the receiver now, and we're into the driver. Again, if you haven't got the RGB, then you're just going to have a straight driver here, which will connect straight onto the LED tape. So for this one, we have got the RGB, so we are going to run a cable from here down the back of the cabinets, which will go to the LED strip. Now, I have been supplied the cable, so this is the cable that I'm going to be taking down the back of the cabinets. As I said, this is quite a simple installation because I've already got a cable which is going behind the back, so I will literally just be tying on to this cable that's over here and pulling through my new cable. All right, it's probably worth showing. So the way that I like to tie this on is I'll strip all of these back, I'll make a little loop like so, fold him down, and then this will go through the hoop that I made, bends over, and then twist it around that cable and then bent down so that it doesn't get hooked as I'm trying to pull it up. I will wrap some tape around this just to hold it that bit tighter, but I'm hoping that that's going to hold and I can easily pull that up. All right, let's see how we go. Fingers crossed. So I'm pulling from the top and feeding, making sure that it's not tight from the bottom, that it's going in as flat as possible. Get up there, it feels like it's at the top of the cabinet, but it's catching something. Okay. All right, goodness for that. Okay, so we got it all the way to the top of the cabinet. There. So now we're going to connect that into our controller, and then the other end into the LED strip once we've put the profile in. So the idea now is to get our profiles into position under the cabinets. I prefer to put these at the back of the cabinets to spread the light on the tile, but you can obviously have them wherever you wish at the front. So yeah, that's where we're going now. We're going to measure these off and then cut them into place. Okay, so they have actually come with the clips which fix onto the back of it, which hold it up. They've also come with these end caps for the cables to come through. But actually what I prefer to do is to drill a hole through the back of the actual profile so that the cable strip sits on the other side of this along here, and then the cable can come straight out of the back. Just going to file this off nicely so that it's not. And cut the cables and put the clips in. I'm going to pilot these holes just a little bit so it makes it a lot easier to screw in. It's tricky enough working underneath the cabinet, so you might as well make your life that little bit easier, and a couple of pilot holes does help. Okay. I'm going to bring these forward just a little bit so that they're not touching the tile, just so that it gives me a little bit of play when it comes to pushing up. I'm going to screw these in. Right, now that she's in, we'll cut this, leaving us plenty of length. Straighten it out. Get it through our hole, which is plenty big now. Clip these. Let's see how easy these are to clip into place. Doing the same thing we did before. Right, time for the third and final piece of the profile. Looking at for me. Okay, so now the profile's fitted, I'm going to connect on the end of the LED strip to the cables that I fished down the back of the cabinets. The cables are the same colour, so we're just going to be extending them onto the prepped cables that's already manufactured on the end of the LED tape. What I'll do is I'll strip off about 10mm of copper. From there I'll bend it over, put it into the crimp it in one side, and then do the same on the other side. As long as the colours are matched and it's a nice and tight connection, you're good to go. Okay, lovely. So now I've got this crimped on tightly. I've threaded it through the back of the profile. Now I'm going to pull the slack up the back of the cabinets to keep it all nice and tight, because the idea is to have the light start at one end of the cabinet and end at the end of it. So so once the slack is pulled through, I'm going to run some tape around the connections just to help it slide through the hole to make the process a little bit easier. So before I get too carried away with taping up the LED tape to the profile, I just want to quickly test it to make sure that it's all tickety-boo. So we'll neaten this up once we've tested it and got it all connected up. So exactly the same as we did earlier where I showed the example on the table, we're doing exactly the same at the top of the cabinets now. Okay, so we pop the fuse in now, so the receiver has power. I press with a wireless switch. See that the tape's all nicely lit up, so that's great. Okay, so we're now going to reel off the tape to roughly what we need. And we're going to start from this end and work our way over to the other corner. So we're literally going to peel off the 3M sticker on the back of this and stick it to the inside of this profile. Okay, so I'm going to peel off about 6 inches to a foot every time. Just guide it in and work our way along. Okay, so now the tape is nicely in the profile, let's fit the diffuser. When it comes to cutting the profile, it's best to use a pair of tin snips. It's nice and soft plastic, so it's not too brittle. Let's give it a snip. Okay guys, that's it, all done. So now it's just about putting this switch wherever you fancy. No wires to it. Doesn't get much easier than that. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing an upload once a month. Lots of different tricks like we've done today. Okay, thanks guys.